It's gonna go even worse for him. But like I said, I'm not using that to try to be arrogant or try to overlook him. I'm still working extremely hard because I know that those weapons are there. But
welcome, fight fans, to my channel. This is Johnny, and today we're going to be going over the statistics that nobody talks about when mentioning the upcoming light heavyweight fight between Oleksandr Gvozdyk and David Benavidez. Guys, this weekend in Las Vegas, on the undercard of the Gervonta Tank Davis versus Frank Martin fight, we have the interim WBC light heavyweight title clash between Oleksandr Gvozdyk and David Benavidez. In this video, what we're gonna do is compare and contrast both guys' resumes. We're gonna talk about their strength of schedule, see their opponents, see who they've been fighting, and talk a little bit about some pros and cons of each fighter going into this matchup. And stay tuned to the end of the video. We're gonna talk about some facts about both fighters that you might have been unaware of. Guys, when we think about David Benavidez, we obviously think about the name Canelo Alvarez. We think about the plight of Benavidez over the last 5 or so years, wanting to get that clash at super middleweight with Canelo. And we also have to think about Canelo not accepting the fight for whatever reason, however you want to frame it. It just never came to fruition. So in a fighter like Benavidez, he chose to go his own way. He talked about in recent interviews, he wanted to move up to light heavyweight to pave his own career path rather than waiting on another guy to form his own legacy. And when we talk about the light heavyweight landscape, this is a landscape that is filled with a few killers, but they're not on the right side of the youth spectrum, meaning you have Bivol, who's in his early 30s, you have Beterbiev, who's in his late 30s, and you have Benavidez's upcoming opponent, Gvozdyk, who's 37 years old. When you look at a guy like Benavidez, he's only in his 20s, so his prime is right in front of him. And the opportunity he has this weekend to go against Gvozdyk, become the interim light heavyweight champion, and then possibly challenge the winner of Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol, you'd have to think all of the cards are in his hands to become a world elite superstar. And then who knows, let's say Benavidez conquers the light heavyweight division with his frame and his build. Who's to say he wouldn't be able to move up to heavyweight and become a champion there, writing his own legacy like he ever so wishes? All of that still needs to be written. I'm just giving you guys some examples on what might possibly happen in the future career path of David Benavidez. With Gvozdyk, we're talking about a guy who was a former world champion. We're talking about a guy who dethroned the once untouchable Adonis Stevenson via brutal knockout and actually retired Stevenson. But then we're talking also about a guy who went through his own health struggles. He had a stroke scare, he retired for a little bit, and then he came back as well. And at 37 years old, the Ukrainian fighter known as the Nail has probably seen his better days, but who knows, given the right opportunity with a great chance to become an interim world champion again, only time will tell what version of Gvozdyk that we'll see. Now let's take a closer look at David Benavidez. David Benavidez is 28-0 with 24 knockouts. He's currently ranked number 2 in the world in the super middleweight division. He has a career 86% knockout to win ratio. The 27-year-old American's an orthodox fighter standing at 6'2" with a 74.5-inch reach. Like we talked about, this weekend he takes on Oleksandr Gvozdyk for the interim WBC light heavyweight title. His last fight was against Demetrius Andrade. Andrade was 32-0. Benavidez knocked him out in the 6th. He then fought Caleb Plant, who was 22-1, UD in the 12th. David Lemieux was 43-4, knockout in the 3rd. Kyron Davis was 16-2, knockout in the 7th. David Benavidez presents a lot of problems to any of his opponents in any division. We know about his skill set, we know about his hand speed. The questions that will arise, from my opinion, will be, will those skills be able to carry up to the light heavyweight division? He's never fought a guy as big as Gvozdyk. He's never fought at light heavyweight, and he's never laid hands on a guy that big and actually got the answers from the questions of, will his power carry over? We'll have answers to those questions this coming weekend. Now let's take a closer look at Oleksandr Gvozdyk. Gvozdyk is 20-1 with 16 knockouts. He's currently ranked number 5 in the world in the light heavyweight division. He holds an 80% career knockout to win ratio. The Ukrainian is a 37-year-old orthodox fighter standing at 6'2" with a 75.5-inch reach. He last fought Isaac Rodriguez, who was 28-4, knocked him out in the 2nd. Ricard Boliniks was 19-6, knockout in the 6th. Jose Ubando was 20-34, UD in the 6th. And then in 2019, his only loss was to Artur Beterbiev, who was 14-0. He lost a war via knockout in the 10th. He got knocked down 3 times in that fight. It took a lot out of him. And fast forward 5 years, which is this weekend, we'll see what the big guy has left. We have to remember, Gvozdyk comes from a storied amateur background. He's part of that Ukrainian, the golden era of boxing, winning a bronze medal at the 2012 Olympics on the same team as Oleksandr Gvozdyk and Vasily Lomachenko. When we look at both fighters side by side, the weight, the physicality will obviously be on the side of Gvozdyk, just based off of their categories and weight classes throughout their career. We don't know what Benavidez is going to look like. The speed, the youth will definitely be on Benavidez's side. We'll have to wait until fight night to see the game plan that both go out there and attack. In a recent interview, Benavidez was being interviewed by Jim Lampley, and they were talking about old sparring footage of both guys. Benavidez was in his early 20s. He got rounds in with Gvozdyk, and Gvozdyk was talking about how he couldn't do anything with the younger Benavidez. He couldn't land his world-class jab. He couldn't land his right hand. So when Lampley presented that information to Benavidez, Benavidez said, yeah, those were all true. I was 20, 21 years old in those sparring moments. I'm older now. I'm more mature now. Wait till you see this version of me. And as a fan, I can't wait to see what happens. I'm going to ask you guys and leave it here. Who do you think wins this fight this weekend? Who comes away with the interim WBC light heavyweight title strap? Is it going to be David Benavidez or Oleksandr Gvozdyk? Let me know in the comments section below.